Laura here with LauraDrives.com and Toyota of Bozeman, and I want to welcome Carlos to the Prius family. I think you made an excellent choice with the 2014 Toyota Prius V2, so I wanted to show you a couple things since I can't be there with you, maybe explain a display or two, talk about break-in in case they didn't over there, and remind you too that I'm here if you have any questions. Now, first point I always want to point out to new Prius drivers is this ready light. This is your gospel for those first couple days that you're not really used to turning the car on and not hearing a sound. As long as you see this ready light, you're good to drive. If you don't see this ready light, you've maybe pushed the power button, but your foot wasn't on the brake, so the car's only in accessory mode. So 2 quick points on breaking the Prius in. These are my personal recommendations. The first is for the first 500 miles, don't use any cruise control. We don't want the engine creating a rev pattern at a certain speed, so I really kind of want to see speed varying. And also within the first 500 miles, I kind of want it to see its life. So don't baby it, don't stop it from going over 35 miles an hour. I'd actually love for you to get it on the interstate, maybe pass a car or two, and get it just kind of warmed up in that first 500 miles. So now, regarding break-in period and mileage, you don't always see your best mileage at first. We've got brand new tires on the thing, and sometimes the hybrids really take a minute to kind of break in and get to your peak mileage. So keep in mind that that may happen over 5,000 miles, but at first, there's a couple ways to combat that if you choose to. If you can fill up at a station where there's no ethanol. Ethanol is a greener fuel, however, it's not as efficient as gasoline, so it tends to burn a little faster. You're going to see lower miles per gallon. And then also if you choose, you can inflate your tires to the maximum PSI. It's got it on the sidewall, or you can bring it to Toyota dealership and just ask them to do this. It's going to get you a little better mileage. If you jump right in and start to get a little nerdy with the mileage at first, I'll put links below on tips to hypermile. But one thing that I really recommend, especially for you in Chicago, is just make sure that you're kind of keeping that battery charged. The more the battery's charged, of course, this happens by decelerating or braking. So the more you can decelerate or brake and really kind of charge that battery up, the less the gas motor is going to turn on to assist and charge up the battery. Because that's what happens. When the battery gets really low, the gas motor turns on and helps it out and charges it back up, and obviously affects your fuel economy. So just try and kind of keep that battery charged. Start working coasting and extended braking periods, if traffic allows, into your driving routine. In the name of mileage, I recommend having the eco mode on all the time. You'll select this button. The light will come up on the dash saying eco mode. That's how you know it's on. Eco mode changes the HVAC system to make it more efficient, and it also changes your gas pedal. So it's going to make it feel a little sluggish, but it should return you maybe 2 to 3 miles per gallon better. Last point on mileage is this little guy. This is a hybrid system indicator, and it's the best tool to use to kind of watch your fuel economy. As you accelerate, you move towards the power chamber in the hybrid system indicator. As you decelerate, the battery charges and you move into the charge chamber. That line in the middle is really an important part to watch mileage. And again, this is where we get a little specific, but that line in the middle is really telling you when you're using, if you're below it, when you're using the electric motor only. When you are utilizing only the electric motor, that little EV car will show up and you know that the gas is not assisting the electric motor at all. For around town driving, my recommendation to get good mileage is try and kind of hover in that center line area, and if you can at all, just below it. That brake point happens at about 32 miles an hour. So over 32, you are going to go above that center line. And then my recommendation again for accelerating, if traffic allows, is to not go absolutely all the way up in the power chamber, because then you're using the maximum fuel from the gas motor. In the center screen here, hopefully they showed you pretty well how to set your presets for your audio. And then what I want to show you is over here, if you select car, you can see some trip information for the terribly analytical among us. It'll have an instant miles per gallon readout that you have up on the dash as well. And then you have the last 15 minutes. It shows a bar graph, and it even shows us cruising range, so how many miles until empty. So this is really for those analytical folks like I mentioned. This is my favorite screen to pop on if you're toting around somebody that maybe isn't as familiar with the hybrid. It's not showing us anything now because we're not moving, but as you're driving around town, it'll show you with arrows when the power is coming from the electric motor to the wheels, when it's coming also from the gas motor, and it's really just kind of a good explanatory tool for anybody that's not as familiar with the hybrid. It's kind of a wow factor. Last couple things I want to capture here is the other driving modes are ones that I don't use terribly often. Power mode will give you all of the horsepower from both the gas and the electric motor. It's a little bit of a gas suck. And then EV mode is telling the car to run in electric driving only. Like I showed you up here on the dash, the car will do that naturally. So I don't think there's any need to press that mode. It's a bit of a finicky button. It wants to be going under a certain speed without too much throttle manipulation. Also want to make sure that you know about all the cup holders in this car. You've got one under here. Sometimes people forget about it. And then you have one over on the passenger side. That's a push to release, and of course bottle holders in those two front doors. So Carlos, congratulations again. Welcome to the Prius family. I'm sure we'll talk soon.